everybody, welcome.
Hi,
Come on in.
my name is Haiti and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. I am a compulsive overeater. I am a binge eater, an overeater. I am a purger. I'm a food addict. I am also a drug addict in recovery.
And I'm a drug addict, alcoholic, anorexic in recovery. Welcome everybody.
So I just wanted to quickly touch base with everyone and just tell them that we get together twice a week. We have community meetings. We are a community of addicts in recovery. Some of us are in recovery, some of us are interested in what that looks like, but most of us got here for the same reasons, is we needed help. You can join us by live streaming us on YouTube. It's Why Wait for Recovery, WEIGHT. And you can also watch us on Facebook. Feel free to message us any questions you have, and you can step into our virtual waiting room.
So, I don't know what we're going to talk about tonight. So, we're going to talk about that we won't regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. And I think that's kind of an important thing to talk about. We talk about our past. Actually, we don't really like to talk about our past because for some of us, our past was super scary. And for some of us, we're still living in our past, which makes our life right now super scary. And so when they say, we won't regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it, I don't know what happened up there. What's meant by that is that, you know, every single thing that happened in my life took me to right here, right? Every triumph and every setback took me to exactly where I am today. And right now, where I am today is a woman who is doing her best to do her best in recovery. And not closing the door on the past so means that, so we've learned what we've learned. And to regret the past or to try to live there or to try to fix what happened in the past is kind of ridiculous because it just don't work. So after, you guys know, after my son Eddie died, I lived in the past for a really, really long time. You know, if I only did this and if this would have happened, it would have happened this way. And if I could just go back and change things, but that wasn't going to change his accident, or it was going to change his accident, or I don't know, but whatever transpired, transpired. And the longer I stayed sick and scared, the longer I stayed in active addiction. And so learning to get rid of the sick and scared and the stuff, the events that have happened in our past, you guys, every event that's happened in our past is an event that's happened in our past. That's not the challenge. The challenge is the emotions that we have attached to that event. And what we learn to do is we learn to take a look at those emotions, learn to work through them as best as we can and continue to work on them so that we don't have to say stay stuck and sick and scared. So that's what I'd like to talk about, but we never wind up talking about whatever it is that we say that we're going to talk about. So we can talk about anything. So that's just my 2 cents, and we're going to go around the room and have a check-in, or I don't know what happened to Jess over there.
Yeah, so we're currently technologically challenged. We're having a little bit of an issue in our waiting room. We can see you, we just don't have video that you can see us. So she can hear us. So you can hear everything we're saying. We're working on it and we'll get it sorted out. So, you know, the interesting thing that we all share in common is that obsession and that compulsive thinking, that all we do when we're in active addiction is think about what that stuff is, no matter what it is. And when we talk about addiction here, even though we mention food very often, it doesn't matter what you're picking up, if it's alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, food, people, gambling, purging, anything, it doesn't matter. It's whatever you're obsessing about that you promise yourself that you'll stop doing, that you can stop and you keep using and picking up. And you end up feeling shamed and demoralized and guilty afterwards.
And that's while we're in active addiction.
Right.
And otherwise, once we're not in active addiction, the stuff that we're obsessing about isn't the food anymore. And it's not the binging anymore. And that's going to come up sometimes. Do I ever want to use? Yeah, I do. But I don't, right? Because I'm working on my recovery. But the stuff that we think about is stuff that events that have happened or emotional things that have happened that we live in that part of our past. And it's hard to remember that no matter what happened 10 seconds ago, there's nothing we could do about that. The only thing that we could do now is show up, do our best to do our best, and learn how to work on those ouches so that we can get some happy.
You know, they talk about addicts being in that triangle of self-obsession, that we think that everything that happens around us is because of us, and sometimes things just happen because they happen. And part of our recovery is learning how to step into recovery in a healthy way and stay there and be in community. And we run workshops and we do learnings and we help people connect together, because this is how we recover as addicts on a personal heart-to-heart basis. And our next workshop is actually coming up on the 25th, and I just wanted to mention this because if you go to our Wild Wait for Recovery page on Facebook, there's actually a button that says book now. There's a button, and it's at a special price, so we want as many people to participate as possible, because it is an intensive learning experience. It's all about you, which is really
what addicts want to talk about. It's all about us.
Exactly. And we're looking at, some people have the question of, am I really an addict, or am I just an overeater, or am I do things that I binge and then I'm okay for a couple of days. So those are kind of the things that we start delving into, because recovery really is a personal journey of discovery. You know, it's not so much just the putting down and not using, but it's also learning how to understand ourselves better, so that we're not compelled to pick up and use, but to take responsibility and step into recovery in a healthy way.
Yeah, recovery and not using are two different things. So not using, we all did that. We all dieted, we all only drank on the weekends, we all only did Percocet for 2 months out of the, 2 weeks out of the month. We've all done that. And so we know that quote unquote white knuckling it, we know that we can do that because we've all been there. We've all dieted. Some of us have starved ourselves. Some of us have been great at binging and purging, and then we put it down, right? And so it's not about that. We stay abstinent so that we can clean up the receptor in our brain, so that we can work on what it is that we need to work on, the feelings that we're afraid of, and again, the emotions that are attached to certain events that happen in our life, so that we can learn to deal, so that we can stop stuffing ourselves, you know, whatever feelings that we're stuffing and whatever we're using to stuff them with, so that we can stop doing that.
You know, and when we step into recovery in the beginning, things look very different. You know, we become very different. The world, we almost like step into this world of they talk about a pink cloud, and we're very gung-ho of how fantastic things are, and then life shows up, and people get sick, and people die, and stuff happens, and things happen, you know. And really one of the reasons we have our community is firstly to have that format that people all around the world, and no matter where you are, because people join us from London, from South Africa, from Israel, from India, from all different places around the world, that no matter where you are, if you have a question, you can ask it, and someone will answer in a really, give you great advice, which we hope are not just opinions, but are actually recovery-based solutions, because really recovery is dealing with solutions.
Yeah, it is. And you know, and it's funny you said that, because you guys, when you first step into recovery, like when you're abstinent and you step, for me, I was scared shitless. So I was afraid, I didn't know how to live, and I didn't know how I was going to live without being able to use, and I didn't know how I was going to be happy without using, and I didn't know how I was going to be sad without using, and I didn't know how it was going to be Tuesday without using. So that's how I was to begin with. I was petrified. And then we get into that place where you say, where it gets a lot easier, right? And we have that chance to work on ourselves. And then sometimes life does show up and shit happens. And we learn, instead of to stuff ourselves, to actually deal and to reach out, to be part of a community. And there's been a lot more reaching out actually, lately. So I'm proud of you guys, everybody that reaches out and is talking about what's going on and is doing their best. And good job, you guys.
So you and I were a little bit different, because you came in scared. I came in after bariatric surgery and after having lost 100 pounds, being miserable. I wasn't scared. I just knew something was wrong and something was really empty in my life. I was just like a total mess and not knowing why. So it was very different. So for me, reaching out has always been a challenge, because I'm all about looking good and showing up looking good on the outside. So it's something that I'm teaching myself to do. So I'm reaching out more, I'm sharing more, I'm speaking more, because really it's the secrets that we hold on to that keep us sick at the end of the day.
Yeah, and for me, I didn't reach out, you guys, because I didn't think I was worth it, because I was a worthless piece of shit at it. You know, all the other stuff that I was, it was all great, all the letters that I have after my name. Still, the fact that I looked at myself as a worthless piece of shit who didn't know how to be in active addiction, that's pretty much so how I define myself. And in recovery, I learned to define myself as a woman who does her best to do her best and who is pretty happy in recovery.
I just want to also piggyback on that. You know, our community is a non-judgmental community. So we're not there judging each other. All of us are there to get well. So it's really the things that are in your heart. When we share about it, sometimes we really are being of service to other people, because our story, sometimes we telling someone else's story, as I hear my story, other people sharing sometimes. Yeah. And that's how we learn and that's how we grow. The more we talk about our struggles, our challenges, our triumphs, our successes.
And our failures.
And our failures.
Or setbacks, actually, as we call them, right? Because they give us a chance to move forward. Right. So let's go around check in.
Yes.
We're good? Should we go this way, that way? So Nancy's not here.
Nancy was supposed to
share.
So who
we
wants
could
to
ask
share?
who wants to share, but is anyone going to say that they want to share?
Yes.
All right.
Jess.
Oh, we got Jess, we got Sarah.
See,
all right.
Stepping up.
All right, Sarah, go.
So for this week, I'm just gonna think of my challenges.
Speak up, baby.
My challenge for this week was fear.
Of?
Fear of myself,
Because?
because I lack confidence in
Mhm.
myself and I'm insecure about myself.
Okay, so we're going to rephrase. So, fear, and right now I'm working on
Fear, and right now I'm working on
realizing that I am worth it.
realizing that I am worth it.
Yeah, and so what is it that when you look at you makes you feel it? And so you did the challenge, right? You put up 6 things that, what was your challenge that I gave you? You had to put up 6 things.
Why I'm
Why you're fabulous, basically.
Abundant.
Okay, so let's hear a couple of things that you said out loud that made you fabulous.
Can I go back?
Yeah, you can read, you can cheat, you can read, it's okay. You can't think of one right off the bat that makes you fabulous?
I wrote down in there that as a mother, I'm very useful.
You're useful, or you're a loving, caring mom?
Right.
I'm a loving, caring
I'm
mom.
a loving, caring mom.
Do you take excellent care of your child?
Yes.
Who takes excellent, oh, let me hear you. Who takes excellent care of my child?
Who takes excellent care of their child.
Okay, that's 1. Go ahead, 2.
I'm a very good daughter.
Okay.
Try to take great care of my parents. As
Awesome.
they're the healthiest people.
Okay.
I'm useful to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have learned to take care of myself in
Mhm.
a healthier way.
Good.
I'm useful as a wife because I take good care
Instead
of
of useful, put awesome or
I'm
fabulous or I'm doing a great job as, because
I'm
useful, the microphone is useful, and the pot that I boiled the hard-boiled eggs in is useful.
I'm awesome as a wife because
Yes,
I
you
take good care of my husband.
Okay, so those are some right off the bat. You're a woman who's doing her best in recovery right now. Kudos to you for that, right?
Thank you.
Right, you're showing up a whole lot differently than you used to, right? Even though you're scared, you speak about it, is that correct?
Jump on the recovery track.
And so you're a lot less scared, right?
Right.
You're isolating less,
Yes.
right? Some people are fabulous, think you're fabulous because you lost like 846 million pounds or some kind of shit like that. I have no idea what that was, but whatever that is, right? And that was good, you know, that's important too, right? Although the weight is secondary because that always comes off when you're in recovery.
Right.
Because you're doing the right thing to take care of yourself as well.
Right. But
Okay.
it's still, I'm still, even if you lose weight, you're still you know, unless you change, worked ways to change yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I continue to struggle with.
Is your body image?
Body image, yes, but more. So let's say I'll use this example, and that's where fear was coming in. I'm
Okay.
applying for jobs as I've been, and I had a test come up for the job, and I just couldn't get myself to do it. I was sweating. I mean, there's nothing that was probably so complicated, but I would just have so much anxiety that I'm not going to perform well.
And if you didn't perform well, what would have happened?
So that's that fear of not getting what I want or
Right, so fear, you guys, we talk about this all the time. Fear is not getting I'm afraid of not getting what I want or losing what I have.
Right.
So you were afraid that you wouldn't get the job, and if you stayed frozen in fear and you didn't do the test, what was gonna happen?
Well,
You weren't gonna
just
get the job, right? So,
that. Just that.
right, worst case scenario, I have to tell you, I applied for a job once, I had Susan on the computer, I had me on the computer. You had to read like 56,000 things and answer all of these things at the same time, and it was like, oh my goodness, yes? Are you talking to me?
Oh, no.
No, sorry. Oh my goodness, like, you have to be like afraid, and I don't consider myself stupid. So, okay, but so you do your best to do your best, and the universe turns the way that it does, right? And you're scared because you're looking for a job. So is everybody else. So that fear that you have makes you a human being, right? And I guaranteed if you would have reached out and shared with the community, everybody could have given you stories about how they feel when they're looking for a new job, or when they're not feeling like, you know, we also sometimes base our self-worth on what that answer is going to be at the other end of that. Well, if Jan's going to hire me, then I must be awesome, you know? Jan's going to hire you if she feels like hiring you. You're awesome because you're awesome, right? But that fear that you have is fear that everybody has. You know, that little bit of angst is angst that everybody has. That just makes you a human being, right? Talking about it, working through it, that makes you a woman in recovery,
Yes.
right? Who's doing her best to do her best. Did anybody reach out to you and say that they would help you?
Yes, they did.
Did you accept that help?
Well, my mom ended up helping.
Okay, perfect. So yes, you accepted help.
Yeah, I accepted
Okay,
help. But I
good.
did have some other offers, which I really appreciated that.
Okay,
So
all right,
we
good.
did pass because I have an interview tomorrow.
awesome. Okay.
But I think more so besides the job, because I say the job, but it's more because that's just the way I process things
Okay.
with fear.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm trying
Yeah, so fear of the unknown. Guys, we all have that, right? And that's okay.
Felice,
Yes.
I'm gonna interrupt for a second. Can you guys speak up? We're having a hard time hearing.
Oh, so is there something up with this? So you're having a hard time hearing. So we're talking about fear of the unknown. I'm gonna shout. Can you guys hear me up there? Yes, you can hear me now?
yeah.
Thank you. So we're talking about fear of the unknown and how we're all scared of the stuff that we don't know. And actually, you guys, sometimes it's easier to sit in scared than it is to move forward and even think about what the change might look like as far as scared goes, right? And so we know cognitively that we're never going to get what we want if we don't go for it. But sometimes that fear will hold us back from even going for it, right?
You know, and sometimes that fear is sometimes it's in our thinking. You know, we've been thinking that way for so long and it's so comfortable. The thought of changing the things that we've been doing becomes so frightening in itself. And for some of us, that's an obstacle. And I know people reach out and they go, you know, these things are an issue, but, and they start justifying it. And I think when you start thinking, am I an addict or is this an issue for me, which is one of the things we'll talk about in the workshop, you know, our thinking is a huge part because we're not going to get better using the same thinking and thought process that we used before and that got us into the situation that we're in. Something needs to shift, and that takes work, and that takes discussion, and that takes workshops and learning.
So yeah. So you know they say like to step into recovery, you only have to change one thing, and that's everything, right? We have to change everything because we have to change here. We have to change the way that we're thinking, and we have to change the way that we look at things, and we have to learn to move forward and grow spiritually, right? So that we can learn to be happy. And if this was, when did we meet you? How long ago?
Like 8-9 months ago.
Yeah, you would have been petrified, right? And not talking about it.
No.
And what you used to tend to do was look at everybody else's life and talk about that, or how everybody else in your life was doing, and sit comfortably in their chaos. So you didn't have to take a look at you. And now look at you. Like you're here, man, and you show up and you talk about it and you're doing stuff and you're I wish that we could have all had movies. I wish we could have had movies of me when I was in active addiction so that we could see the difference when I'm in recovery. I wish I could have movies of you to show you when you first used to come to the meetings, and how different you are, not your weight, but how different you are and how much calmer you are, how your affect is so different, and how you do reach out and you say, okay, I'm scared, which, you know, before it was this one saying this to this one, and, you know, this one did this, and I was at so-and-so's house, remember?
Yes.
Yeah, because it was so much easier to look there than it was to look at you,
Yeah.
right? And to grow you up
Yes.
and to learn for you that it's okay, that you can learn and grow up and learn to be happy and let the other people in the universe do their own shtick and deal with their own chaos,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because you didn't need to be a part of that.
No.
So I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
I really am.
No, thank you guys.
Yeah. And you guys, I'm mean. So you guys know when I'm being nice, it's because I'm actually being nice instead of being mean.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
I really am.
So who else
Oh,
wants to
Jess,
say?
you wanted to share, right? JJ, did you say yes?
I can, sure.
Well, go
I
for
didn't
it,
say
girl.
it, but I will.
All right.
I think I accidentally volunteered you, Jess.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay. So along the lines of what she was talking about like chaos, and somebody mentioned chaos, I don't know. But police did. Okay. So there was a bunch of chaos in my life over the last couple of days. But it wasn't directly involving me, and I was able to get myself out of it. And that felt really good, because the old me would have tried to fix it all. It's not my responsibility. And I realized that, and it's just so much more peaceful to just be like, okay, they're sick, they need to help themselves and, you know, find the help that they need. They don't need me to fix them, because I can't.
Right, and either it's none of your business. You know, you could always lend a helping hand. If somebody asks you for advice, if they give you their 15 seconds worth of woe and ask you for some advice, then that's great too. But realizing that the stuff that's going on outside of me doesn't have anything to do with me. And a lot of times we can't help. We just have to say, wow, I really hope things work out for you.
I just wanted to also say something. I'm really proud of you, because Jess sent me a message and she said, you know, I'm supposed to meet with this person, and I decided I'm not at that stage in my recovery that I can actually deal with this, and I opted out. And for that, I'm so proud of you, because you put your recovery first, and you know, it's great helping other people, but we have to help ourselves first and also know what that looks like. You know, if it's not going to be an uncomfortable situation for us, to be able to turn around and just be honest and say, not now. You know, give me a buzz, send me a text message, whatever it is. But
Yeah.
I'm really proud of you.
Yeah, and so that's really good. So you talk about not letting your ego drive what happened. So my ego is, well, if I say no, what are they going to think about me? And it doesn't matter what they think about you. It matters that you're healthy, right? And that
Right.
when you show up, we talked about this all last time, right? Being of service. Being of service isn't I'm of service because I want you to think something of me, right? I want you to think that I'm a great person. Right? It's I'm
Right.
being of service because it's coming from my heart and something that I'm capable of doing, and so I'm
Right.
going to do it. As opposed
Right.
to showing up and, oh, I do everything for everybody, and you know, and they don't recognize it. Well, then you ain't being of service, right?
Right, and I wanted to be of service, but I genuinely do want to. She asked me to, like Haiti said, she asked me to go to dinner, this person did. And I said yes, because she is struggling. And I thought, well, I could be a listening ear, I could be helpful. But the more I thought about it, I thought, I can't do it. I'm not in a place where I can, like you said, please. So, and then I'm so grateful that I did, because rumors just started flying about a bunch of crap. And I was just like, you know what? I do not want to be in the middle of that. No.
Yeah, good for
So it
you.
was a really healthy decision.
Yeah, good job, you. Good for you.
Thanks.
Anyone else going to share or have anything to say about what anybody's been saying so far?
I would love to just jump onto this for a second. So, you know, one of the things that
Did Liz raise her hand? So Liz, after you.
yeah, sure. One of the reasons that we actually do these workshops, and Felice and I do what we do, it's not only to be of service, but it's also the teaching and the learning, and it helps us in our recovery because we learn from what we're doing as well. But if you're at that stage, and anyone who's listening, anyone who's at that stage that their lives are really chaotic, or there's a lot of stuff going on and you're exhausted at the end of the day, that there's so much stuff happening and everyone else is busy happening to you and doing stuff that's upsetting you, step into the workshop. It's a great learning experience to be able to put this into perspective.
We're good? Yep. Thank you, Heidi. Liz, you want to share, hon?
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
So you guys are talking about sitting or choosing not to sit in someone else's chaos. And all week this week, I have a coworker that I share an office with, and she has been just angry and pissed off all week. And it's actually been going on for a couple of weeks. And it's funny because I used to internalize that sort of thing, and I would sit there and I would think, man, was it something I did or was it something I said to make her angry? And it has nothing to do with me. And, you know, if somebody else was having a bad day, I would automatically have a bad day too. Like I was a sponge for somebody else's feelings.
Codependent.
And so I was just saying, like, it's not like that for me anymore. It's amazing.
So that's awesome. So funny. You know, we talk about how they say when we're in active addiction that we're self-centered, and we're like, no, we're not self-centered. Like, we're so nice. Like, I was nice to everybody. It's not what that means. It doesn't mean that I'm selfish. It means that if something happens, and if Haiti shows up today and she's in a bad mood, that in my head I'm going like, oh my God, and first of all, how could she show up like this? And you know, we're supposed to have a good day, but she's not being nice to me, and maybe, and you know, it's probably what I said last week, and you know, and I didn't even mean to say that, and I don't even know why she's mad. There are those stories that we make up in our heads, right? Or we can look at her and say, wow, hey, I think Heidi's having a bad day. I really hope that she's feeling better later. Right? Same scenario, different perspective. And so when you talk about changing your perspective, Liz, that's like so awesome, because that's the stuff that you learn in recovery, right? That you didn't know before, that you're learning now. And so that's so great. If you decide to get involved with somebody else's chaos, that's on you, right? Right? Even when it's toward you, even if she comes in the morning and she's being bitchy to you, right? We could forgive her for she knows not what she does, right? Because I bet she didn't wake up in the morning and hope that she was going to be a miserable bitch all day. Like, that's probably not how she woke up. She probably woke up and really hoped too that things would be better for her today. So we can wish her well. And boundaries, you guys, when we learn about boundaries, and make sure that if somebody else is in a bad mood, doesn't mean that they're allowed to mistreat us. It just means that they're allowed to be how they are being, right? Difference between acceptance and boundaries. I accept the fact that you're in a crap mood and that you're nasty, but I'm certainly not going to let you shout at me in front of other people or whatever my thing is, right?
Yeah.
Right? So good for you for having that acceptance.
So one of my biggest learnings in recovery, because I'm a people pleaser, I like looking good, it's one of my challenges, is that I would take on other people's mood. So if my husband was in a bad mood, I'd be in a bad mood. So if he was happy, I was happy. If my kids were upset, I was upset. So my whole world became revolving around how other people were feeling, which weren't necessarily the things that I was feeling. And funny enough, I just had this conversation with the kids in my house. Because my son's there, his girlfriend's there, her best friends moved in. I'm a railway station. I've got a whole lot of kids living at me. And my husband was in a bad mood yesterday morning, and 2 of the kids want to move out. And we had a conversation that is about him. You know, because someone is having a bad mood, is in a bad mood, doesn't mean that you either need to take it on, or B, internalize it, or C, be responsible for it. Because sometimes people are just in a crappy mood because that's what they chose to be for whatever reason. Who knows? Maybe they didn't get laid for a while. You know, there could be a million reasons.
And even if it is about you,
Right.
It's still about them.
Right.
Even if
At
their
the end of
reason
the
is
day.
I'm mad at you, it's
Right.
still about them and why they're mad at you.
Right.
Right?
100%.
Right? You could do everything right today, and Sarah could still be pissed off at you. That's about Sarah.
Right.
Right? If you didn't smack her over the head with a frying pan, which that would be about you and your interaction with her, That's about her and
So-
how she chose to show up.
And when you put, and just speaking for myself, when I put myself in a room and I'm with other addicts when I was in active addiction, there was a whole lot of chaos going on because we were all pissed off about something. You know, all of us have these crazy standards that no one else is performing to, and it just detracts from looking at myself and seeing where I'm at and checking in with me. Because, you know, one of the things that we learn in recovery and in our workshops is, what are those feelings? They're not just good and bad. There's a whole lot of stuff in between that we learn to name them because we've forgotten what they look like and feel like. And that it's okay to sit with things sometimes and make different choices and not live other people's lives. Like, start being responsible for our own.
Right, and a lot of times when we're just looking at somebody else to tell us how we're supposed to be feeling that day, we spend a whole lot of time stuffing ourselves so that we don't have to feel anything. And so it's about also learning, I can be upset and I can be sad and I can be happy and I can be all of those things, and understand what that feels like and understand which I feel is appropriate for myself right now. So, Laura, we missed you on Sunday.
I missed you guys too.
Did
I
you
was busy
survive?
entertaining. I was entertaining.
You survived?
And driving my daughter around. That's what I was busy doing.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So here's the thing. I've been on a little entertaining kick lately. I'm entertaining all kinds of people these days. So just want to let you know, I'm like, working on that fear, and I'm just having people over. But here's the issue. I used to be really, really fun. Meaning, like I go out with people, and or people, if they're friends, if they would come over, whatever, I would say, I'm fun when I drink, and I'm fun when I take something, and I'm fun when I sit and I eat, right? I'm really fun.
Yeah, we
I'm
all are.
boisterous and I have a lot of fun. When I'm not doing those things, it's sort of like, what do I have? I'm actually really boring. There's not a whole lot for me to say or do, and I'm really kind of feeling like I'm at a loss right now.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you a couple things about you, because we know you a little bit. So are you high right now?
No.
Okay, so you're always funny. You're not high when you're here, right? You're funny, intelligent, and sarcastically funny a whole lot of times, right? And so you do have some stuff going on, even if you're not high. And I think a lot of us feel that way when we first get clean, like who's gonna wanna even have a conversation with us?
Yeah.
Because I have nothing worthwhile to say. Right? We have a couple drinks and we get a little tipsy and we're just so happy and we're talking about shit that nobody friggin' wants to hear about anyway. And we're talking and we're talking and we're talking and nobody gives a shit, but we think we're being awesome.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And we're entertaining. And so, so what you're talking about is you have no idea of how to be authentic.
That's probably it.
Yeah, that is it. That's why they pay me the big bucks. Yeah. So to show up and to be who you are and to understand that you're actually worth having a conversation with, and that you probably have a lot of things to share, and you're probably still funny, because you're always funny here. You're probably still funny even when you're not stoned. Is that easy to get to that place? Nope. Do a lot of us, it's easier to hide behind the food or the alcohol or the opiates. I'm awesome on opiates, man, like really awesome. I am. Until I'm not. But anyway, and so I think that the majority of us are going to feel like that, right? Once we stop using our drug of choice, how is it that we show up now that I'm clean? How do I do that?
Right.
And that's Laura. I would imagine 90% of the people that are going to listen to this tonight are going to agree with you, and have either been there or in the middle of there right now, or are worried about getting clean because they're worried about going there. And that's our truth. So it's learning about being authentic, which we talked about, and learning that it's okay not to be high and to actually have an intelligible conversation with somebody when we're not high, and actually be funny and caring and a little more transparent and can get in on other people's conversation. So that's going to take some time. Like, that's the only thing that I can tell you, is that it's going to take some time. I don't know anybody that's good at it right away. I don't. Okay. So, and I can promise you, like, Don's not here, but Don's an alcoholic. And I can promise you for Don, it was a whole lot easier to be stoned and stupid and to have a great, funny conversation with everybody than it is when we're clean. And getting used to that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks for sharing that. How did it go when the woman came over for dinner? This is like
Oh,
reality TV, you guys. So Laura was upset for like 600 days because somebody was coming over to dinner on Sunday.
And
Right, it was like the dumbest thing ever, right?
Right.
It was like the dumbest
No,
thing.
it was reality. It wasn't dumb. How did it go?
You know what? It was fine. It was completely fine, right? She came over for dinner. I'm like, this is the stupidest thing ever but I have these things that I make it up in my head, right? And I was telling, everyone she's gonna say all these bad things about me or talk about I mean, crazy stuff. But truly, I really believed it.
I know.
And so then she came over and I've got all this crazy going on in my head. And there she is, and I'm not drinking, and I'm not taking any Valium, and I'm just feeling all these great feelings, and it sucked. But I did it, and it was fine. And she came, she ate my food, she stayed for a couple hours, and then she left.
See how that works?
So she did leave.
Yeah, good for you. And so I'm glad you got there. The other stuff, Laura's gonna come with time. It's just, and remember too, we look at it and we're like, shit, like it's another shit. I gotta do this and I gotta do this. As opposed to when we change our perspective and say, something great's gonna happen later. And that's actually going to come, that shift, when you learn how to be comfortable with yourself authentically. And when you get rid of those feelings that you have of inadequacy, because that's what you were taught, right, your whole life. And that you weren't good enough.
Right.
And to realize that you are good enough and that you're definitely worth having a conversation with, and that's going to come from you.
Yeah.
So thank you, Laura. Anybody have anything to share about that?
I would love to say something just quickly. The one thing as well is, when we get into the early stages of recovery, I used to feel normal. Like I felt like I was like the other people. So in the early stages, we're doing a lot of intensive work. I mean, you've been doing the workshop, you're doing a lot of work on yourself, and it's all about what am I feeling, and there's kind of that panic for me in the beginning. And it's also just being able to focus on the person that you're with instead of judging. I had to learn how to stop judging myself all the time when I was with someone else and not on my own. So I could actually try and just relax and enjoy that person for who they are, and get to connect with them on who they are. And my personality just comes out that way. It's just easier, but it takes time. In the beginning, it's really very intense. A lot of feelings, a lot of thoughts. Give yourself time and space.
Okay.
Things do settle down over time.
Yeah, and it's going to get easier. Just in the beginning, it's really hard. It really is. Yeah. You share, Mama?
There's a few things, but one of the things, not so much with people, but when Laura was saying with the stuff that goes on in one's head, and I was thinking back to when I finally made it to that thin weight that I wanted to be in. There was so much stuff going in my head that I couldn't even be with what my body really looked like, and it was like really disturbing for me, and I just didn't know how to like own it. And so when you said the crazy stuff going on in my head, like I really get to see it was all in my head because of the torment that I put myself through, which was not even anywhere near reality.
So our whole entire life is only in our head. Everything that's happening is the way that we're looking at it,
Yes.
right? You have an experience and you have that experience with you, and you guys look at it differently. Our whole entire life is our perspective. And so when we actually do learn how to change our perspective so that we can learn how not to pick up, because really we learn to live so that we can learn how not to pick up. And then we're not picking up, and then we actually learn to live happily, right? And to understand the difference between being devastated by some little thing and actually being devastated because something devastating happened, and learning how to get through that as well. Your life is just the way that you see it.
Yeah, you mentioned the perspective a lot last time, and I had like an issue with a coworker, and I realized it was not an issue; it was just a perspective that she had, which was not mine. And I see like how I get so reactive, and so I caught myself. Because,
Can you give us a little bit of a hint as to what that was, so that?
She just needed to have something written down to understand it, and to me it was like, I'm telling you, I'm sharing with you like what needs to be done, like what's the problem, and it was like a broken record, like she didn't understand, and I didn't have the patience, and I made up that she was like trying to weg out on something instead of being.
When really she just didn't understand.
Right.
And you
Or
weren't
she needed more
understanding.
information. Yeah.
You
Right.
weren't
I wasn't
understanding, we're not
understanding.
understanding.
And what was, I was going through all this stuff in my head, well, you know, like, she's like a friendlier coworker, like, we share things, intimate things beyond work, but not like super, like best friends, but then I was like making up, well, I'm not really gonna be friendly with anyone at work, that's the last time I'm gonna trust, like, go that far, like, I had all this stuff going on, and
I'll show them.
limit my interaction with her. And then she called up, I was on my way to work and she called up to get something, and I realized she was concerned about an issue that was with another coworker, and I saw the pattern. I'm like, it has nothing to do with me. And
Yeah.
so I got to see, like, stop judging her and just be friendly with her. And have
Because
fun.
you judging her was hurting who? Who
Me.
was in a bad mood?
Totally.
You.
Yeah, and I was
So-
missing out on, we could work,
Life.
you know, life and connection.
Right.
And she's a good, you know, connection, but I just got to see how I was like, you know, had this perspective, and like, no one's gonna hurt me, or no one's gonna get one over on me, and I was like, you know, like, wow.
Yeah, that old, right, we say this a lot, resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other dude to die.
Right.
We're the one that's drinking the poison. You hold on to that nasty, it puts you in a bad mood. It's
Yeah.
ruining your life, not her life, right? We hold on to that judgment and that, and why do we judge? I'm gonna judge you because I'm better than you are. I hold on to that indignation because I'm better than, what kind of bullshit is that, man?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You're a human being having your own experience. Is there somewhere that I can help? And if there isn't, okay, I'm going to, if it's toward me, forgive you for you don't know what you're doing, right? You know, forgive you for your intention
Right.
isn't to hurt me. And otherwise, I'm just going to understand that you're a human being, and that I'm gonna take it for granted that you're doing your best.
Yeah, and it was funny because I'm working in this satellite office, and I see how my head gets the best stories in the world, but I was making up stuff about, I'm not like, I'm just a temporary worker for 2 years. I've been like temporary in these offices. But anyway, I was like making up all sorts of stuff about people in terms of like, am I accepted? Am I part of the community? I'm not really.
And we call that
Ego.
Thank
Ego. Oh my
you.
God, there's so much
Right.
ego going on. So I was doing all this in the car, too much stuff going on in the car, and then I come in, and I really get like, so many people have so many different days, bad days, good days, and then this one woman that hadn't said hello to me in a while, it was, because I just was making peace with it, she just opened up, she goes like, I've been really depressed lately, and I was like, oh my God, here I am, my ego was totally like about me, and you know, poor me, and then the poor woman, because she has to deal with the public, and God knows, you know, all the stuff that she was going through. So I was really supportive of her in terms of not having it be about her, but it was about these people, and you know, we had a good conversation. The next day, she was just like, "Oh, hi, how are you doing?" Like,
Yeah, you know, and I tell you guys this, we're gonna make up stories, let's make up good ones.
yeah.
So I just wanted to ask anyone on Facebook, if this is speaking to you, type yes, give us the thumbs up, because I know around the room this is resonating like crazy. Let us know if you're sharing in this experience.
And Angela wants to share.
But I don't know if I'm sharing on that experience.
And
I don't know if I'm gonna say.
Share whatever you want to
Okay.
share.
I was just thinking, I think I was talking to you about this earlier, that, I was just realizing today how different my life is exactly a year, like in that mindset to move on and do what I need to do and whatnot. And this year, it's like completely different because I'm more relaxed about it, and like things are falling into place. And the reason I bring that up is like the thing that's different is that I'm in recovery this time around. And so I think that just having that peace of mind and being okay with myself and more comfortable with my life, it's helping me move forward, I guess, and be more of an adult in my life.
So when we're in active addiction, we're stuck and sick and scared, and you were petrified of everything.
Yeah.
You were petrified, you were afraid of everything. I don't know if I had ever met anyone, except for me actually, when I first walked into that treatment center. You were afraid to speak, and you were afraid of everything and everybody else's opinion and the way that the world was and the way that the world wasn't. I mean, you were sick, like you were really sick. And now you're not. Now you're just crazy like the rest of us that are in that are in recovery and not in active addiction. You know, like our normal crazies that we all have, and that's okay that we work through. But you're working through stuff now, as opposed to just staying alone and petrified, and in active addiction. So our life looks a lot different a year out after being in active addiction.
Yeah.
Being a year out into recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also just wanted to acknowledge you. Angie is always in service. She does so much for While Way Through Recovery and getting the message out there, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Ange.
Thank you, Ange. And also just while we're on the topic of service as well, I just wanted to say thank you to Crim Agency and General Provision.
Thank you guys for giving us the room.
We've got a war room in Fat Village, and that's where we're meeting.
It says Fat Village.
It is awesome.
Really awesome. Do you feel like you want to share? Or tell us anything about yourself, and you don't have to. That's completely up to you.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. It's obviously my first time.
Speak up, baby.
I'm definitely nervous to be here. I've been in other types of meetings before, other 12-step meetings, or I don't know if this is a 12-step
No,
meeting.
it's not.
It
No.
definitely feels different, and I like it. And my brain's running, but I think it's because there's a lot of connection. But yes.
And so anyway, and you know, anytime, and thank you for being here. And anytime you step into somewhere new and you're even thinking about changing, no matter what, even when we're changing for the better, change scares the shit out of us, because I know how to be here, and I know how to be scared, and I know how to use, and those are the things that right now that I feel comfortable with. And to say, and what happens, you guys, when we first say, you know what, I'm gonna do my best to get this recovery thing. That means everything in my life is gonna change. My perspective is gonna change, and my actions are gonna change, and my people are gonna change. And I'm gonna have to let go of some old stuff so that I can move forward. And it's scary, and I'm gonna tell you what I tell everybody else: the smarter you are, the harder it is to get. And that's the God's honest truth, and everybody will tell you that. You know, we have people that will actually just follow blindly, and they're not intelligent. You know, they're super smart in what they do, but for us to learn how to be so manipulative of others, you're gonna find a whole lot of addicts are really smart, because we've learned how not only to manipulate you, but I've learned how to manipulate myself, how to lie to myself so that I could stay where I am. Right, how to do a whole lot of walking around in a whole bunch of bullshit so that I could look okay on the outside when I'm effing dying inside all the time, and I'm looking good out there. And now I'm talking about getting real and changing. And it sounds like a bunch of hocus pocus, you know, oh, Hare Krishna, we're all love and happiness, and, you know, let's all, you know, hold hands and sing. But it's kind of like that. It is. Like, there are people getting a whole lot of happy, but it's really, really scary. And so you haven't, I know that you've been to other recovery places. We're not affiliated, you guys, with any 12-step program. Thank you for bringing that up. We're not OA, NA, AAC. We're not any of that stuff. Shout out to all of those places that get a whole lot of people clean. Thank you for that. And thank you for being a part of my recovery. But we're just different. We're people who talk about changing our perspective and learning how to have some acceptance so that we can live in the real world, right? And basically that's what our group is about. It's just learning how to be okay in our place so that we can stop stuffing ourselves, so that we can start feeling what we're feeling and learn how to live. So thanks for being here.
And you know, it's also brought up one of those topics that's come up quite a bit is that crazy brain. You know, we forget that we're addicts and our brain wants us to keep using, and no matter what, that brain goes with us. And until we shift that paradigm and the way that we're thinking. So for some people that are new, that are just stepping into our room, and there are loads of you out there, when you start looking at us and going, those people are crazy, just remember there's a reason you're watching and you've stayed watching. So
There is why you're in the room.
So I really invite you to keep coming back, because things do start making sense after time. Things do become a little bit clearer. And if you're really still confused or you're not 100% sure, step into the workshop. The workshop is our way of giving back. It takes tools, it takes work. A lot of people need recovery. Loads of people need recovery and to step away from addiction and get out of it and learn the tools, but it's only really for the people who are willing and wanting it, that they're willing to do the work, because this, you will work.
Right, and so that's what I always say, right? It's not for anybody who wants it, because we all want to get clean and we all want to get better, and it's not for the people that need it, because every single one of us needed it. Everyone out there watching needs it. It's for the people that are willing to do the work, right? To get down and dirty and to cry and to scream and to hate me for sure, and maybe even hate each other, right? And go through that and relearn how to live, man. You guys, I needed to relearn how to live, you know? I was the person that if you would have seen 10 years ago, you wouldn't have spit on me. You know, you wouldn't have wasted your time. Like I was that girl that was gonna be homeless and was dropped off in front of a halfway house in a car with no clothes and no money and nobody who would talk to me anymore because everybody was done worrying about whether I was gonna live through the day. And that's who I was. And this, how I show up now, all crazy and okay, and sometimes mad and sometimes happy and whatever that is as this woman in recovery, this is who I am when I am a woman in recovery. You guys, as addicts, we're different than other people. And so we relearn how to live differently. And the one thing, we're not connected anymore, and the thing that it allows us to do is learn how to live better and learn how to live happier. So good for everybody that steps in this room. Jess, who is in England, last time you couldn't talk because your parents are sleeping. Can you talk today? Can you hear me, Jess?
Yeah, she's there.
Oh. Is she speaking?
So we can't hear you,
I can't
Jess.
hear you.
Then as soon as
Yeah.
you're ready, just raise your hand
Yeah,
and
raise
we'll
your
make you
hand,
popping in. Because I just wanted to mention something else. We're going to be changing locations to Davie starting from next Thursday's meeting. So anyone who lives in Southeast Florida, we're going to be at the West Broward Club, which is in Davie. Fantastic location. There's no train there, by the way, so I'm apologizing.
I'm
in
gonna miss
advance.
the train.
No more sound effects during the meeting. But it is going to be our permanent home, so our workshops will be there and our learnings will be there. And I just wanted to give out a shout out to the Newman family, who donated a 40-inch TV screen for us to fit more people in our waiting room so we can see all of you. People are astounding and generous and are absolutely amazing, and they gave it to us because they believe in what we're doing. That no addict anyway should suffer from the horrors of addiction, and living with addiction is horrific.
And all the cool kids are in recovery, man. So like get on the bandwagon
And
or
we
the
have
recovery
fun.
train or whatever. We do actually have fun.
Jess is
Jess, can we hear you now, Jess? Jess, you want to unmute you? Okay.
Maybe just unmute it.
Okay. All right, and so that's okay. So we have silence here. And so JJ isn't there. Do we have any questions from up on the interwebs?
Actually, can we just start talking because we've got 5
We
minutes
could do
left?
whatever you want to do.
Okay, so we have a workshop starting on the 25th of August. We've got it at a reduced rate because we really just want as many people getting in as possible. The money helps us get the message out, and that's really what our goal is to reach as many people as possible. And as long as, as long as people keep showing up, we'll keep doing what we do because there is a need for it. We also meet up on Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This week we will be back in Fact Village. It will be our last week here. Then on Thursdays at 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I honestly urge anyone who's considering doing our intensive 7-week workshop that's based off the workbook that Dr. Felice created, which is awesome. Step into that one, step into the intensive program because it's really going to give you a good stepping off point to be able to go into the next step.
Okay.
And it's up to you.
Okay. Jess, you good now? I think she's out of doors. Okay. All right, we have any questions up online that we can go over? Yeah, what time is it?
It's already this 5 minutes.
Okay. All right, so do we have a quick question online, Ange?
No, we have a long question on that.
Long
Like a
question.
paragraph.
Can we have like the gist of it? You can't read
Okay,
it,
so
it's
I
too
just
much
wanted
to-
to,
okay.
can I just quickly touch
Yeah.
back on something? So we've actually been developing our own website as well, which will have its own forum. So because people have been very concerned about anonymity online and Facebook and people seeing what they're posting. So, and a lot of addicts don't use Facebook. So we've actually decided to move off that format. Within the next 10 days, we're going to be up and running. It will be a private space. It will, people can go there, sign up for meetings, step into a room, join workshops. It's going to be very interactive. It's really easy to use. And I'll also urge anyone who enjoyed tonight's session or really got something out of tonight's meeting, please go to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. It's Why Wait for Recovery. It costs nothing. It helps us get the message out, and it really will help us get better rankings on YouTube so we can reach more people, because people really are out there that are suffering.
Yeah, that are still sick and suffering.
Do you want to take us out with the promises?
And so I'm going to read the promises from the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I read it at the end of every meeting. And I remember that we used to do the Serenity Prayer all the time, like in different meetings, and I never actually listened to it. And it's a really important thing to listen to because it says a whole lot of good stuff. And so do the promises. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, you guys, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change, right? Right? Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations that used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that the universe does what the universe does, right? Are these extravagant promises? We don't think so, because they're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly, but they do always materialize if we work for them. I'm blessed and so grateful for every one of you. Thank you for being a part of my recovery. I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. This was our Thursday evening Why Wait for Recovery community meeting. Thank you, guys.
And my name is Haiti, and
So Jan, as far